morning, welcome to CATEX TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. Today is Thursday, January 7th, 2016. If you want to follow us on Twitter, please go to CATEX TV. The market turmoil in China is continuing to spread around the world. Global investors are growing more anxious about the Chinese currency and the health of the Chinese economy. Today, Chinese stocks plunged more than 7%, forcing officials for the second time this year to shut down trading. In this case, only after 29 minutes of trading. The aftershocks quickly followed into Europe, which saw significant decreases, very sharp ones, and Wall Street is down about 2% in pre-market trading. The big question right now reflects whether or not the turmoil in China is as a result of the implementation of new rules to control the currency, or whether it's in fact due to inherent weakness in the economy. A downbeat Chinese manufacturing report sent stocks spiraling down on Monday. We predicted then that the Chinese would begin to let the yuan plummet in value, which in fact they did. They set it at its lowest point in almost 6 years before the markets opened this morning. The rate for the renminbi was at 6.56 to the dollar. When stock trading opened, investors dumped shares, once again shutting down the market. According to an observer at HSBC, people are worried about whether they are using currency depreciation to stimulate growth, they being the government. At the end of the day, the question is, do they have control? Everyone is asking that question. It's a question that we've been asking ourselves. It's very difficult to control a very, very large economy, especially when you're coming from a background of 5-year economic plans, and the Chinese still stick to that. It's not going to work. Emergency crews in New York State have rescued 17 salt miners who were stuck in an elevator 900 feet underground in western New York. It's the deepest salt mine in the Western Hemisphere. It's owned by Minneapolis-based Cargill. It's called the Cayuga Salt Mine. It's in Lansing, New York, about 40 miles east of Syracuse. An elevator large enough to accommodate a forklift got stuck at around 10 p.m. last night, while miners were descending down to the floor of the 2,300-foot deep mine. The last miner was brought up about an hour ago. The salt mine produces mainly road salt that's used throughout the northeastern U.S. Mining began in Lansing about 100 years ago, and 200 employees work there. We saw a significant blaze at a high-rise in Dubai over the New Year's Day weekend. It was at a hotel called the Address downtown in Dubai. Nobody was killed, but it was a pretty stirring fire for TV perspective. It's the latest in a string of building blazes at high-rises in Dubai. The operations manager at Dubai-based Capital Shield insurance broker said that the impact on premiums might not be as significant because the company that owns the Address in downtown owns thousands of buildings and could switch to other insurers if the rates went too high. He said, quote, "Insurance is a pool. We all pay into the pool, and whoever has a claim takes from this. Let's say you have more risk than me. You should pay more. If an insurer notices that claims from BMW owners are higher than others, they'll increase rates for all BMW cars. Here is the same situation. If they notice that these types of buildings have more of a tendency for claims, then it will have an impact on the whole market. These types of buildings, in this case, are specific buildings that have so-called combustible cladding. There's been a series of fires in Dubai high-rises over the past 2 years in buildings that have combustible cladding, and insurance observers are saying that it's going to make a very, very strict underwriting criteria even more difficult now, and likely will result in higher rates for buildings that use that material. South Korea said this morning that it's going to resume broadcasting messages into North Korea over powerful loudspeakers as part of an effort to punish Kim Jong-un for this week's nuclear test. The nuclear test, which North Korea advertised as a hydrogen bomb, apparently might not have been a hydrogen bomb. Intelligence community experts are saying that it was a less powerful atomic device, similar to one that the North detonated on 3 previous occasions. South Korea said it would return to a practice that proved effective over last summer of blasting messages critical of Kim, as well as a playlist of the South's signature K-pop music into North Korea. It's going to turn on banks of speakers lined up along the DMZ at noon tomorrow. A series of incidents last summer had the North threatening war. Under the deal, though, Pyongyang expressed regret for an attack that severely injured 2 South Korean soldiers, and South Korea agreed to turn off the speakers. Tomorrow, though, they're going back on. Huge banks of 48 speakers will blast messages about 12 miles into North Korea at night and about half that distance in the daytime. Some of the messages are: Kim Jong-un's incompetent regime is trying to deceive the world with its lame lies. This is a kind-sounding woman saying in one of the messages in a slow, deliberate voice. From the perspective of North Korea, where the Kims are revered as near deities, this is a very big problem. Apparently, the K-pop music is also as big a problem to North Korea. There were 3 earthquakes in northwestern Oklahoma earlier: 4.7, 4.8, and 4.0. No reports of any damage or injuries. There were a dozen smaller quakes Wednesday night and Thursday. In California, there was a 4.5 quake that shook sections of Southern California's Inland Empire this morning. It struck about 10 miles north of the city of Banning. No reports of any damage or injuries. The CEO of United Airlines, Oscar Munoz, has been on medical leave since suffering a heart attack in October. Apparently, he underwent a heart transplant yesterday. They expect he's going to return to work this spring. Didn't provide any more detail, including where the transplant was performed. The 57-year-old Munoz became CEO in early September after the previous CEO abruptly stepped down following a federal investigation into the airline's dealings with officials who run the airports. There were 2,300 heart transplants in the U.S. last year. About 88% of the patients survived for 1 year and 75% survived for 5 years. So the prognosis for Mr. Munoz might be pretty good. We wish him the best. Thank you for watching. If we have any breaking news, we'll come back and tell you. We'll see you tomorrow.